2 years ago, Ethan Carter, a structural engineer with a knack for fixing things, scraped together every dime I had to buy my first home. The housing market was a nightmare, but I found a run-down ranch house just within my budget. It needed serious work, but that's my wheelhouse. Cracked foundations and sagging beams are where I shine. My place sat on the edge of a fancy neighborhood called Willow Estates, separated by a lazy creek that marked the line between my county land and their city limits. Their side had polished stone gates, pristine lawns, and houses worth triple mine. My side? Well, it was a bit rougher, but it was mine. I had big plans for this place. I spent weeks poring over county codes, pulling property records, and sketching designs to turn my modest house into something with soul. The crown jewel was going to be a detached workshop out back, a 600-square-foot haven for my woodworking hobby, something I'd always loved but never had space for. I designed it to blend seamlessly with the house. Same roofline, matching materials, nothing flashy. It'd sit in the far corner of my lot, barely visible to anyone except a few homes across the creek. After the county greenlit my permits, I was pumped. Materials were ordered, equipment rented, and I was ready to break ground. But then things got weird. I was out staking the workshop spot when a sleek SUV crawled by. The driver, a guy in sunglasses, stared at me like I was trespassing on saw land before peeling off. I shrugged it off. People can be nosy, right? But the next Tuesday, I found an envelope taped to my front door. It was on fancy letterhead from the Willow Estates Homeowners Association, and it hit me like a punch. They claimed my workshop violated their community guidelines, unapproved structure, clashing aesthetics, blocking their precious VYUs. The kicker? They demanded I stop all work or face 200 daily fines and lawsuits. They even included a form for me to submit my plans for their approval. I was floored. I didn't live in their community. My deed was Cliano HOA, no covenants, nothing. My land was county, not city. This had to be a mistake. I called the number on the letter and got a bored-sounding woman from the HOA's management company. "Your property's in our jurisdiction," she said, like it was OBVYS. I explained the creek, the county line, the fact I'd never signed anything. She doubled down, claiming their rules covered adjacent properties. I pushed back, saying that's not how property law works, but she just sighed and told me to read the letter and comply. Frustrated but calm, I double-checked my documents. No HOA. My real estate agent confirmed it. So I tried being nice. I sent a polite email to the HOA board, attaching my county permits, explaining the mix-up. I figured that'd clear things up. Boy, was I wrong. The response came from the HOA president, a guy named Richard Vance. His email dripped with condescension, calling my workshop an eyesore that'd tank their property values. He strongly suggested I rethink my plans if I wanted to keep the peace with my neighbors. Something felt off. Why did they care so much about a shed barely visible from their side? I took a walk along the creek to scope things out. From the bank, I could see 5 houses across the water. One stood out, a mansion with a multi-level deck and flawless landscaping. Its VYEW directly in line with my workshop's future spot. That had to be it. I mentioned the letter to my neighbor, Tom, a laid-back guy 2 doors down. His face darkened. "You've got Richard Vance's attention," he said. Apparently, Vance, who owned that big house, had a habit of throwing his HOA weight around, even on our side of the creek. Tom said other neighbors had gotten similar letters over the years. Most caved, spooked by the legal threats. One family tried to put in a pool, but their permit got denied 3 times for shady reasons. Tom dropped his voice. "Vance has a cousin in the county permit office. Nothing's ever proven, but things get messy for people he doesn't like." That lit a fire in me. This wasn't a misunderstanding, was a power trip. The next morning, I caught someone snapping photos of my yard from the street. When I approached, they sped off. That afternoon, a county inspector showed up, claiming a complaint about unauthorized construction. I showed him my permits, and he left, confused but satisfied. Then my material delivery got canceled. Someone had called the supplier, saying my address was wrong. Fake HOA violation notices started popping up on my fence. The final straw? I came home to find 2 guys in HOA-branded polos saw my property measuring my workshop site. Documenting a violation, they said. I told them they were trespassing and started recording. They argued but bolted when they saw my phone. Enough was enough. I hired a real estate attorney, Sarah Klein, who specialized in HOA disputes. She reviewed everything and didn't mince words. This is misrepresentation, maybe harassment. They have zero authority over you. We sent a cease and desist letter to the HOA, Vance, and their management company, laying out the legal boundaries and warning that further interference would mean a lawsuit. I also dug into county records and found gold. The HOA's original plans showed the creek as their boundary, but recent filings claimed a sphere of influence over my side. They were straight up lying to control properties they had no right to. Things didn't stop there. My workshop permit got flagged for additional reviewed. The county clerk mumbled about community concerns but had no details. I met with a senior official, armed with my permits, the HOA's letters, and their shady filings. He was stunned. We've had complaints about this HOA before, but nobody's brought this kind of denke. He approved my permit on the spot and flagged my file to block further meddling. Sarah uncovered more. The HOA had been sending official letters to the county about non-HOA properties and even filed liens for unpaid dues they weren't owed. This was bigger than my workshop. When construction finally started, the HOA didn't back off. People across the creek watched, took photos, whispered in groups. 2 days in, Vance himself showed up at my door tall, tanned, nails manicured like a movie star. He launched into a speech about community standards and how my monstrosity would ruin everything. I let him rant, then laid it out. My property's not in your HOA. You have no power here. This is legal, permitted, and happening. Keep pushing, and you'll face consequences. His face turned red. Do you know who I am? I built this community, he barked. I didn't flinch. What you've built is a scam, claiming authority you don't have. I've shared your tactics with every homeowner you've bullied. They're not happy. That hit him. He froze, then stormed off without a word. Construction rolled on, but petty attacks kept coming. Anonymous complaints triggered inspections, all passed. Someone reported a fake water leak. Leah VY my yard dug up. I stayed focused. Then, a surprise VY cider, a woman named Linda, an HOA board member. She was different, genuine. I'm sorry, she said. Some of us didn't know what Vance was doing. My attorney's letter had sparked an emergency board meeting. Homeowners on my side had called, furious they'd been paying dues they didn't owe. The board forced Vance to resign. The State Real Estate Commission launched an investigation. Vance put his house up for sale, likely spooked by the legal fallout. My workshop finished on time, a beautiful structure that matched my now gorgeous home. The harassment stopped. Neighbors on my side formed a tight-knit group, hosting cookouts and helping with projects a real community, not Vance's fake empire. The HOA redrew their maps, refunded wrongful dues, and stayed in their lane. My renovations even boosted local property values, the exact opposite of Vance's fear-mongering. Now, I teach woodworking classes in my shop, and even some Willow Estates folks stop by to compliment it. The new HOA president waves when she passes by, a small gesture, but it says everything. Looking back, I learned to know your rights, document everything, and never let bullies intimidate you. Standing up to Vance didn't just save my project, it freed my neighbors from years of lies. That's a win worth celebrating. So what do you think? Was I right to fight back, or should I have compromised to keep the peace? Have you ever dealt with an HOA or someone overstepping their authority? How far would you go to protect your property? Drop your thoughts below. Hit that like button if you're Team Ethan, and subscribe for more wild stories. Let's get this debate going.